What you are looking at is not magic. It is the underlying machinery of your reality. For centuries, the true architecture of the universe was hidden in the vaults of mystery schools, locked away in the minds of the highest initiates. You have been conditioned by modern society to believe a much simpler, far more limiting story. You were taught that the world is made of dead, solid matter. That you are a biological accident, navigating a random, chaotic universe. That is the grand illusion. If you strip away the physical illusion of the room you are sitting in, the weight of your own body, and the screen you are staring at, you will not find solid matter. You will find a mathematically perfect, violently vibrating grid of energy. But let us be brutally honest about why you were never taught this. This suppression of knowledge was not an accident. It was an economic and structural necessity for the ruling class. To control a population, you must disconnect them from the engine of creation. Ancient builders and elite lineages understood that reality is malleable. They encoded this divine schematic into the grand cathedrals, the pyramids, and the monuments of antiquity, using exact sacred geometry and acoustic resonance to manipulate the local energy fields. They kept the mathematics of manifestation for themselves and gave the masses dogmatic religion and mindless physical labor. As society evolved into the industrial and modern age, the suppression became even more sophisticated. The modern education system was not designed to enlighten you. It was mathematically engineered to limit your perception. You were taught to memorize fragmented data, to obey the rigid structure of linear time, and to believe that your conscious mind has no impact on the physical world. This keeps your biological reactor operating at the lowest possible frequency. It turns you into a docile battery for a system that feeds on your labor, your fear, and your stress. The reason you are trapped in a reality you despise, the endless grind, the lack of resources, the absolute exhaustion, is not bad luck. It is a mathematical error. You are running a corrupted code. You are attempting to change your physical circumstances by manipulating physical matter, which is the equivalent of trying to change a movie by scratching the cinema screen. Reality is not an accident. It is an engineered projection. It is a divine schematic. Quantum physics has entirely validated what the Hermetic alchemists knew millennia ago. You are standing inside a masterfully constructed matrix governed by immutable laws of geometry and frequency. Your brain is merely a decoding interface, interpreting a sea of electromagnetic frequencies and projecting them as a three-dimensional holographic environment. There is a source code to your existence, a blueprint that dictates exactly how chaos organizes itself into physical form. A century ago, a man named Nikola Tesla tapped into this exact architecture. He didn't use mysticism, he used physics. He realized that the physical dimensions are merely a localized field of consciousness interacting with this holographic projection. He famously stated that to find the secrets of the universe, you must think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Tesla wasn't speaking in metaphors. He had discovered the absolute cadence of creation. He realized that you cannot understand the universe through the lens of base 10 mathematics alone. You must understand the unseen, energetic axes that govern the material world. He found the divine circuit board hidden in plain sight, dictating everything from the spiral of human DNA to the rotation of the galaxies. That circuit board is the 369 frequency. Over the next hour, we are opening the library. We are going to tear down the illusion of your physical limitations and decode the exact mathematics of the universe. I am going to show you the geometric engine of reality and exactly how to plug your own biological machinery into this frequency to fuse your desires into existence. You will stop being a victim of the grand illusion, and you will learn to operate the schematic. The illusion ends now. If the physical world is a holographic projection, as we have established, then how does it maintain its structure? How does chaotic energy organize itself into a physical form without collapsing into absolute entropy? The answer is that the universe is not guessing, it is calculating. Every single thing you can see, touch, and measure is built on top of a foundational mathematical grid. It is a self-replicating algorithm. If you want proof of the divine architect, you do not look at dogma or religious texts. You look at the geometry of nature. There is a specific number, a mathematical ratio that dictates the physical growth of the entire natural world. It is called phi, or the golden ratio, 1.618. Coupled with the Fibonacci sequence, a mathematical progression where each number is the exact sum of the two preceding ones. This ratio creates a perfect, infinitely scaling spiral. This is not abstract mathematics. This is not a coincidence. This is the literal blueprint of your reality. Coincidence is a word invented by people who refuse to acknowledge the mathematics staring them in the face. Look at the physical world around you with new eyes. The arrangement of seeds in a sunflower spirals outward in exact accordance with the Fibonacci sequence. The shell of a nautilus, the petals of a rose, the spiraling vortex of a hurricane, and the shape of a breaking ocean wave, they all perfectly match the golden ratio. Nature is not random. It is strictly obedient to a mathematical law. It is growing, expanding, and experiencing itself through a pre-calculated geometric pathway. When the ancient mystery schools carved the flower of life into the temple of Osiris in Egypt, they were not making art. They were leaving behind the blueprint. They understood that to master the physical world, you must first master the geometry that creates it. They knew that if you align your consciousness with the golden ratio, you align yourself with the flow of creation itself. The masses were kept ignorant of this. They were taught to see the world as separate, disconnected objects. But the initiate, the alchemist, sees the invisible threads of mathematics connecting the star to the seed. They see the fingerprint of God. But this intelligent design does not stop at the things you can see with the naked eye. The schematic scales infinitely up into the macro and infinitely down into the micro. If you look at the structure of the Milky Way galaxy, its massive spiral arms rotate in exact alignment with the golden ratio. The cosmos itself is obeying the geometry. The distance between planets, the orbital resonance of celestial bodies, it is all locked into this exact same mathematical grid. Now, zoom all the way down into your own biology. You are not separate from this schematic. You are built from it. The physical proportions of the human body, the distance from your fingertips to your wrist to your elbow to your shoulder, all follow this exact same mathematical ratio. The structure of your face, the arrangement of your teeth, the geometry of your heartbeat, it is all phi. Even deeper than that, look at the very foundation of your existence, your DNA. A single DNA molecule measures exactly 34 angstroms long and 21 angstroms wide for each full cycle of its double helix spiral. 34 and 21 are consecutive numbers in the Fibonacci sequence. Their ratio perfectly matches phi. Your very genetic code, the biological vehicle you are using to experience this physical dimension, is mathematically stamped with the signature of the architect. The intelligence that spins the galaxies is the exact same intelligence that is spinning the helix of your DNA. This proves a terrifying and liberating truth. The universe is a fractal. It repeats the same perfect geometric patterns at every level of existence, proving that all matter is simply a manifestation of the same underlying code. You are living inside a highly engineered construct. You are walking through a three-dimensional mathematical equation. Once you realize that everything from a spiral galaxy to your own physical body is built using the exact same mathematical ruler, the illusion of a random universe shatters completely. You understand that you are not a victim of circumstance, but an active component within a structured system. And if the universe is an engineered construct, it means it has a specific engine. It has a geometric power source, a shape that allows this divine energy to flow, sustain itself, and cycle infinitely without ever burning out. A structure that generates the electromagnetic field of your heart, the magnetic field of the Earth, and the architecture of the cosmos itself. If the golden ratio is the mathematical blueprint of physical matter, what is the shape of the energy that builds it? A blueprint cannot build a structure by itself. It requires a builder and an engine. A raw, kinetic force must move the chaotic energy of the universe into perfect geometric patterns. Ancient mystery schools and modern quantum physicists agree on the exact shape of this engine. It is the fundamental pattern of energy flow in the cosmos, a self-sustaining, self-regulating, infinitely cycling vortex. It is the torus field. Imagine a sphere where energy flows in through the top, travels down a central pillar, and cycles back out the bottom, wrapping around to re-enter the top. It is a continuously folding donut of light and electromagnetism. This is the primary geometric shape of all existence, the breath of the universe. The torus is the only energy form that sustains itself endlessly without an external power source. The ultimate closed-loop system, perpetually renewing from its own center. You are surrounded by it at every scale. Look at Earth's magnetic field. Energy exits the South Pole, wraps around the planet to shield us, and re-enters the North Pole. That is a torus. The Sun, the heliosphere, and the rotation of the Milky Way itself are all massive, spiraling torus fields, pulling matter into a central singularity and projecting it back into the void. In the microscopic world, physicists observing atoms do not see solid spheres of matter. They see violently vibrating torus fields of energy. The atom itself is a vortex. But the most critical revelation is how this geometry operates within you. You are a living fractal of the universe. Therefore, you possess the exact same engine. You do. It is your heart. Modern science has finally caught up to the occult. We now know the human heart generates the largest electromagnetic field in the body. Its electrical field is roughly 60 times greater in amplitude than your brain's. Its magnetic field is over 5,000 times stronger than the field generated by your mind. And the exact geometric shape of that field? It is a torus. Your heart is not just a biological pump. That is the illusion sold by modern medicine. Your heart is a quantum reactor. It projects a torus field of electromagnetic energy extending several feet outside your physical body, constantly interacting with the quantum environment around you. This is where the karmic engine ceases to be a mystical metaphor and becomes rigid mathematical fact. Your torus field is the engine of manifestation. The frequency of your thoughts and, more importantly, your deeply held emotional states directly alters the frequency of your heart's torus field. Trapped in fear, lack, or anger, you generate a dense, chaotic frequency. Your torus field broadcasts this static into the quantum grid, and the universe, a perfect mirror of mathematics, collapses that frequency back into physical reality. You magnetize the circumstances that match your frequency. You pull them into your vortex. This is why you cannot fake your way to wealth. The universe does not speak English. It speaks frequency and geometry. You can repeat affirmations until your lungs give out, but if your biological reactor vibrates at the level of poverty, your torus field will only pull poverty back into your localized reality. You are the engine. You have always been the engine. The divine architecture is not a prison. It is a mechanical system waiting for a competent operator. The physical world is the holographic projection. The golden ratio is the mathematical structure, and the torus is the engine driving it all. This completes the schematic. You now understand the machine. But knowing how an engine works is entirely useless without the ignition key. If the torus field is the hardware of the universe, you need the software to program it. You need the specific mathematical cadence to force your biological reactor to project a new reality. For that, we must turn to the erased genius who discovered the source code of the matrix. We must turn to Nikola Tesla. And the absolute power of the 369 frequency. History has painted Nikola Tesla as a tragic, eccentric inventor, outsmarted by better businessmen. You were taught his greatest achievement was alternating current, and his later obsession with invisible energy was a declining mind. This is a cover story designed to hide the greatest alchemist of the modern age. Tesla was a high initiate who successfully reverse-engineered the divine schematic. While mainstream science obsessed over solid matter, Tesla studied the invisible framework of the matrix. He understood empty space is not empty. It is a violently vibrating, pressurized ocean of raw kinetic potential called the Aether. What quantum physicists now call the zero-point energy field. He actively sought ancient knowledge discarded by modern science. Studying Vedic philosophy with Swami Vivekananda, he grasped the Sanskrit concepts of prana and akasha. Tesla realized ancient mystics and modern physicists were looking at the exact same engine. He translated the spiritual poetry of antiquity into rigid mathematics. He realized Earth is a giant generator, and the cosmos is a self-sustaining torus field. He built physical machines to tap into it. Looking at the Great Pyramid of Giza, he saw no primitive tomb. He saw a massive, geometrically perfect, resonant energy transmitter built on the Earth's magnetic grid. He understood the ancient builder's schematic and set out to replicate it globally. His Wardenclyffe Tower was not just for transmitting wireless electricity. It was designed as an artificial tuning fork for the planet. Tesla attempted to harmonize Earth's electromagnetic field, plugging humanity into the infinite, free energy of the cosmic torus. He built a physical interface to the schematic of God. But understand the brutal rules of your matrix. To control a population, you must control their resources. If humanity gained infinite, free energy, the modern slave system would collapse overnight. You cannot force a man to grind his life away in a factory if he doesn't pay for heat, light, or power. Furthermore, if you teach a man he swims in a programmable ocean of frequency, he realizes he can program his own reality. He becomes ungovernable. The architects of the grand illusion could not allow this. Realizing Tesla's technology would render his power monopolies obsolete, J.P. Morgan famously stated, "If I cannot put a meter on it, I am not funding it." But it was never just about money. It was about maintaining the frequency of control. The ruling elite financially ruined Tesla and burned his laboratories. Their most insidious act was erasing his physics from the education system entirely. They deliberately steered mainstream science away from the ether, frequency, and resonance, funding institutions to promote dead, materialistic physics. This suppression is why you feel powerless today. You were robbed of your birthright. By removing frequency from your education, the system ensured you would never operate your karmic engine. You were left blind, trying to change reality by moving heavy matter, entirely unaware of the torus field radiating from your chest. When Tesla died impoverished and alone, the government raided his room and classified his most advanced patents under national security. They erased the genius, but could not erase the mathematics. Tesla knew the system would crush him. Unable to hide the physical hardware, he hid the software. The architects of the Matrix could burn laboratories and rewrite textbooks, but they could not destroy a fundamental mathematical law. Before dying in isolation, he left a final, undeniable breadcrumb, a numerical cipher unlocking the exact cadence of the universal Torus field. He stated, "If you only knew the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, then you would have a key to the universe." He was not talking about basic arithmetic. He was not giving you a mystical riddle. He was handing you the operating code of the Matrix. Mathematics is not something humanity invented. It is something we discovered. It is the native language of the architect, and it is the only language the universe actually obeys. When Nikola Tesla told you to study the 3, 6, and 9, he was pointing you toward a very specific anomaly in the foundation of physical mathematics. To understand the power of these 3 numbers, you must first look at the numbers that govern the heavy physical world you are trapped in. Look at how physical life grows. Look at biological cell division, or how a computer processes binary code. It operates on a pattern of doubling. 1 becomes 2. 2 becomes 4. 4 becomes 8. 8 becomes 16. If you use esoteric numerology to reduce 16 to a single digit, by adding 1 and 6, you get 7. Double 16 and you get 32. 3 plus 2 is 5. Double 32 and you get 64. 6 plus 4 is 10, and 1 plus 0 is 1. The pattern repeats infinitely. 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, 5, over and over again. This infinite loop is the mathematical boundary of the physical matrix. It represents the 3-dimensional world of dense matter. It is the geometry of the hamster wheel you have been running on. Notice what 3 numbers are completely absent from this physical sequence. 3, 6, and 9. These numbers do not represent physical matter. They represent the invisible, underlying energetic field that dictates how physical matter behaves. They are the software that tells the hardware what to do. If you double 3, you get 6. If you double 6, you get 12, which reduces to 3. Double 12 to get 24, which reduces to 6. 3 and 6 constantly oscillate back and forth forever. They are the ultimate duality, the yin and the yang, the positive and negative charge. They represent the two sides of the torus field we discovered earlier, the magnetic and electric forces constantly exchanging energy, pulling the physical world into form. But sitting entirely above this duality, governing both the 3 and the 6, is the master number, the number 9. 9 is the singularity. It is the absolute center of the torus field. It represents the zero-point energy of the ether itself. The mathematics of the number 9 prove that it acts exactly like a black hole and a perfect mirror simultaneously. Take any number in existence and multiply it by 9, and it will always return to 9. 9 times 5 is 45. 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 times 8 is 72. 7 plus 2 is 9. 9 absorbs everything into itself. It is the vacuum at the center of creation. But simultaneously, if you add 9 to any number, it reflects that number perfectly back to you, completely unchanged. 9 plus 5 is 14. 1 plus 4 is 5. 9 plus 8 is 17. 1 plus 7 is 8. 9 is the mathematical proof of God. It is everything and nothing at the exact same time. It is the unmoving center of the geometric engine. When you combine the oscillating duality of the 3 and the 6 with the absolute singularity of the 9, you have the complete blueprint of a self-sustaining torus field. You have the exact mathematical frequency that converts raw, invisible potential into heavy, physical reality. This is the divine circuit board. The physical world of 1, 2, 4, 8, 7, and 5 is entirely at the mercy of the 3, 6, and 9. The reason you have been struggling to manifest wealth, health, or freedom is that you have been operating entirely within the physical sequence. You have been trying to force 1, 2, 4, and 8 to do your bidding by working harder, grinding longer, and stressing yourself into an early grave. You have been trying to reprogram the computer by violently hitting the monitor. You must step outside the physical sequence. You must access the 3, 6, and 9. But a mathematical concept is just theory until you apply physical force to it. How does an invisible number actually move solid matter? How does a frequency shape the physical world? To prove this to you, we must look at the undeniable physical science of cymatics. We must look at the shape of sound. We have established the blueprint of the golden ratio. The torus field as the engine, and the 369 as the mathematical software. But a mathematical concept is just a theory until you apply physical force to it. How does an invisible number actually move solid matter? How does a frequency shape the physical world? To prove this to you, we do not need to look at ancient texts. We need to look at the undeniable physical science of cymatics. Cymatics is the study of visible sound and vibration. It is the exact science of how frequencies alter the geometric structure of physical matter. If you want to see the architect's code in real time, this is exactly where you look. In the late 18th century, a physicist named Ernst Chladni performed a legendary experiment. He took a rigid metal plate, covered it with a thin layer of chaotic, unorganized sand, and took a violin bow to the edge of the plate. He didn't use magic. He simply introduced an acoustic frequency. Instantly, the chaotic sand began to move. But it did not move randomly. The sand violently organized itself into a perfect, mathematically precise geometric mandala. As Chladni increased the pitch and changed the frequency, the sand instantly shattered its previous form and reorganized into an even more complex, beautiful, sacred geometric pattern. Decades later, Dr. Hans Jenny expanded on this by passing sound waves through water and other liquids, photographing the results. The liquid would instantly form three-dimensional torus fields, spiraling galaxies and hexagonal grids. This is not a trick of the light. This is a fundamental law of physics. The physical matter, the sand or the water, has absolutely no choice but to obey the frequency it is subjected to. The frequency is the master. The physical matter is the slave. Now, apply this undeniable law of physics to your own existence. Your physical body is composed of over 70% water. Your bones, your tissues, and your DNA are highly conductive crystalline structures. You are essentially a walking, talking Chladni plate. When your heart's torus field generates a frequency based on fear, stress, anger, or poverty, that frequency does not just float away into the ether. It violently vibrates every single water molecule and cell within your biological reactor. It forces your internal geometry into states of chaos and disease. But it does not stop at your skin. Your electromagnetic torus field extends outward, interacting with the quantum field around you. The universe is the metal plate. The quantum zero-point energy is the sand, and your heart is the violin bow. You are actively, physically vibrating your localized reality into form. If you are broadcasting a chaotic frequency, the quantum sand around you will organize into chaotic circumstances, financial ruin, broken relationships, and endless physical exhaustion. The matter of your life has no choice but to obey the frequency you are projecting. This is the exact reason why the architects of the modern matrix bombard you with fear-based news, toxic media, and constant financial stress. They are weaponizing cymatics against you. They are deliberately forcing your biological reactor to broadcast a low, dense frequency so that you continue to physically construct a prison for yourself. They do not need to build physical walls if they can control the vibration of your torus field. But the inverse is also a mathematical law. If you consciously seize control of your biological reactor, if you deliberately tune your internal frequency to the cadence of the 369, the universe must respond. It is not a reward for good behavior. It is a mechanical mandate. The quantum sand of your reality will instantly reorganize itself into structures of wealth, health, and absolute freedom. You do not need to move the sand with your bare hands. You only need to change the frequency. This concludes the study of the machinery. You have seen the blueprint. You have seen the engine. You have seen the code. And you have seen the physical proof of how it operates. The divine architecture is fully exposed. Now, the theory ends. It is time to step up to the altar. Over the next act, we are going to activate your biological reactor. I am going to give you the exact, actionable alchemical process to structure your intent using the 369 method. We are going to collapse the quantum wave and force your new reality into physical existence. The physical proof of cymatics demonstrates that matter is an absolute slave to frequency. But how does this apply to you specifically? You are not a pile of sand on a metal plate. You are a highly advanced, self-replicating biological organism. To operate the divine schematic, you must first understand your own hardware. Modern biology treats the human body as a complex bag of meat and chemical reactions. This is a deliberate downgrade in your understanding. You are not a chemical accident. You are a highly tuned electromagnetic antenna, specifically designed to interface with the zero-point energy field. Let us look at your DNA. Mainstream science will tell you that DNA is merely a biochemical storage drive containing the instructions to build proteins. This is only a fraction of the truth. Biophysicists studying these exact molecules outside the rigid constraints of materialistic science discovered something terrifying to the architects of the Matrix. Your DNA operates as a biological internet. It is a fractal antenna. Because of its exact double helix shape and its mathematically perfect proportions aligning with the golden ratio, your DNA is structurally designed to receive and transmit electromagnetic frequencies. It absorbs photons of light from the quantum field, and it broadcasts acoustic and electromagnetic signals back out. Your genetic code is constantly communicating with the torus field around you. But your DNA is just the wiring. The tuning dials of this biological machine are your brain and your heart. Think of your brain as the electrical receiver. Your brainwaves, alpha, beta, theta, delta, and gamma, are literal frequencies. When you focus your thoughts, you are turning the dial on an electrical tuner, locking on to specific bandwidths of reality. However, the brain alone is not enough to collapse the quantum wave. The brain is electrical, but the universe responds to electromagnetism. This is why mere positive thinking completely fails. You can sit in a room and think about wealth all day, but if you do not generate the magnetic force to pull it into your localized reality, it remains a sterile fantasy. This is where your heart comes in. As we established, your heart generates a massive electromagnetic torus field. Your heart is the magnetic amplifier. When you align the focused electrical frequency of your brain with the powerful magnetic frequency of your heart's torus field, you create a coherent electromagnetic signal. You become a localized reality distortion field. This is not a metaphor. It is biology meeting physics. Hidden inside the center of your brain is the final piece of the hardware, the pineal gland. Ancient mystery schools called it the third eye. But in mechanical terms, it is a piezoelectric transducer. It contains microscopic calcite crystals that physically vibrate when subjected to electromagnetic fields. It is the literal, physical bridge between the invisible frequency of the quantum field and the physical chemistry of your body. When your brain and your heart are in absolute coherence, they generate a standing wave that activates these crystals. You physically plug your biological reactor into the universal grid. This is what it means to be the human antenna. You are physically constructed to download the schematic of God and upload your own desires into the matrix. But right now, your antenna is transmitting static. You are broadcasting the chaotic frequencies of a stressed, exhausted, and suppressed worker bee. You are accidentally manifesting the very reality you are desperately trying to escape. because your machine is running on default programming. To change the output, we must change the input. We must override your chaotic static with the master code. We must synchronize your biological reactor to the rhythm of the 369. Now that you understand the machinery of your own body, I am going to give you the software. We have established the hardware. Now, I am going to give you the software. This is the exact actionable protocol to reprogram your localized reality. If you treat the 369 method as a cute journaling exercise, it will completely fail. If you treat it as a desperate plea to the universe, you are broadcasting lack, and it will fail. You must treat this as a rigid, mathematical programming sequence. You are not hoping. You are entering code into a terminal. The 369 method is a highly specific, algorithmic cadence designed to bypass your conscious, critical mind and directly imprint a new frequency onto your subconscious. The subconscious is the actual driver of your Torus field. It is the engine room. Here is the protocol. First, you must construct the code. This is your intent. Your intent must be a single, razor-sharp statement, formulated entirely in the present tense, as if the reality has already occurred. I am operating a highly profitable enterprise. I am completely financially sovereign. Do not use the future tense. The quantum field does not understand tomorrow. It only recognizes the eternal now. If you write, "I will be wealthy," you are perpetually broadcasting the frequency of waiting. You are mathematically locking yourself out of the result by keeping it forever in the future. Once the exact code is constructed, you apply the Tesla cadence. Step 1. The Trinity. 3 times in the morning, immediately after waking up. When you first wake, your brain is transitioning from the deep delta and theta states of sleep into the waking alpha state. Your conscious firewall is down. The concrete has not yet set on your daily reality. You write your code 3 times. 3 is the number of creation. It is the initial spark. As you write it, you must generate absolute electrical focus in your brain. Do not let your mind wander to your inbox or your bills. See the words. Command the reality. Step 2. The amplification. 6 times in the afternoon. By the middle of the day, the physical matrix is aggressively trying to pull your frequency down. The stress of your environment, the exhaustion, the dense noise of modern society, it is all designed to break your coherence. 6 is the number of equilibrium and harmony. It is the magnetic force. You write your code 6 times. But this time, you must engage the biological reactor. You must force your heart to feel the exact emotional state of the completed intent. If you are coding for wealth, you must generate the physical sensation of absolute financial security and relief in your chest. You must broadcast the magnetic wave. The brain provides the electrical thought. The heart provides the magnetic gravity. Step 3. The singularity. 9 times at night, immediately before sleep. As you prepare for sleep, your brain is slipping back down into the theta state. The gateway to the subconscious is wide open. 9 is the singularity, the master number, the absolute center of the torus field that absorbs everything into itself. You write your exact code 9 times. This is the final, deliberate collapse of the quantum wave for the day. You are taking the electrical thought of the morning, the magnetic emotion of the afternoon, and burying it directly into the 0-point energy field of your subconscious mind. You go to sleep. For the next 8 hours, while your conscious, doubting mind is entirely shut off, your biological antenna broadcasts that unified, coherent 369 frequency out into the quantum sand. You repeat this exact mathematical cycle for 33 consecutive days. Why 33? Because it is a master number of physical manifestation in esoteric masonry. And mathematically, it takes precisely that long to neurologically rewire the synaptic pathways in your brain and establish a permanent baseline frequency in your torus field. If you miss a single session, you break the circuit. You do not pick up where you left off. You start over at day 1. The universe does not reward inconsistent mathematics. You cannot run the corrupted code and expect a flawless program. This is the true alchemical process. It is not magic. It is cymatics applied to human biology. You are forcefully vibrating your internal water molecules, your DNA, and your electromagnetic field into a new geometric pattern. When you maintain this coherent frequency without interruption, the physical matter of your life has absolutely no choice but to reorganize itself to match the signal. The resources, the capital, the exact circumstances you require They are violently pulled into your vortex by the sheer gravity of your heart's magnetic output. You now have the hardware, and you have the software. You understand that your brain and heart form an electromagnetic antenna, and you understand that the 369 cadence is the code you must broadcast. But how does this invisible frequency actually produce physical results? How does a thought turn into a bank account, a business, or a physical circumstance? To understand this, we must look at the most terrifying and liberating discovery in modern physics: the collapse of the quantum wave. In the quantum realm, before physical matter is observed or interacted with, it does not exist as a solid object. It exists as a wave of infinite probability. Every possible outcome, every timeline, every version of your life exists simultaneously in a suspended state of pure potential. This is the zero-point energy field. It is a vibrating ocean of what could be, waiting for a command. In physics, the famous double-slit experiment proved that the mere act of observing this quantum wave forces it to collapse into a single physical particle. The observer literally dictates reality. Without the observer, there is only probability. With the observer, there is solid matter. You are the observer, and your heart's torus field is the mechanism of observation. When you execute the 369 method, when you fire the electrical thought of your intent in the morning, amplify it with the magnetic emotion of your heart in the afternoon, and bury it into your subconscious singularity at night, you are not just wishing for a different life. You are projecting a massive, coherent electromagnetic beam into the quantum field of infinite probability. You are forcing the wave to collapse. Out of the millions of possible timelines suspended in the ether, your torus field locks onto the exact mathematical frequency of the reality you coded. The universe, which operates strictly on geometric obedience, has no choice but to collapse the chaotic wave of probability into the specific physical particles of your intent. But you must understand how this physical manifestation actually arrives. The matrix does not work like a magic trick. $1 million will not spontaneously materialize on your living room table. That violates the geometric laws of physical density. Instead, the quantum collapse works through the path of least physical resistance. It works through synchronicities. When you lock your frequency into the 369, the physical world begins to mathematically rearrange itself to deliver your code. It alters the probability of events around you. You will suddenly receive an email from a connection you haven't spoken to in years. You will stumble across a piece of information that perfectly solves your business problem. Capital, resources, and individuals will inexplicably cross your path at the exact right moment. To the untrained mind, these look like lucky coincidences. To the alchemist, they are the visible, physical gears of the torus field turning. It is the quantum wave collapsing into your timeline. However, there is a brutal catch. The quantum field is highly sensitive, and it is entirely unforgiving. If you execute the 369 protocol perfectly in the morning, but spend the rest of the day complaining about your boss, stressing over your bank account, and radiating the frequency of victimhood, you instantly ruin the math. Your chaotic, fear-based emotions generate a massive, dense magnetic wave that completely overrides your morning intent. You forcefully uncollapse the wave of wealth, and you collapse the wave of poverty right back onto yourself. The universe does not care what you want. The universe only cares what you are mathematically broadcasting. You cannot lie to the quantum field. This is why absolute, ruthless discipline over your internal state is required. You must hold the frequency of your completed intent, even when your current physical reality looks bleak. You must look at your empty bank account and realize it is simply the delayed physical echo of your old frequency, not the truth of your new one. You must hold the line. You have now been given the entire schematic of God. You have the blueprint, the engine, the code, and the physics. You are no longer blind. The grand illusion has been shattered. But with this knowledge comes a terrifying burden. You can no longer blame society, the economy, or bad luck for your circumstances. You are the sole architect of your reality. And it is time to sign the contract. You have seen the blueprint of the golden ratio. You have felt the Torus field engine radiating from your chest. You possess the 369 software to program the matrix. And you understand the quantum physics of how the wave collapses into your physical reality. The grand illusion is shattered. But the breaking of this illusion comes with a terrifying price. Absolute, undeniable accountability. Until today, you had a built-in excuse. You were allowed to blame the economy, your upbringing, the government, or simple bad luck for the miserable state of your life. You were operating entirely blind inside a system mathematically designed to siphon your kinetic energy. You were a victim of the architects of the Matrix. You were a battery. That excuse is now dead. To know the exact rules of the physical game and refuse to play it is a conscious, deliberate decision to remain a slave. This is what ancient mystery schools referred to as the Karmic contract. Modern religion has entirely distorted the concept of karma, selling it to you as a system of cosmic punishment and reward. They taught you that if you are a good person, the universe will eventually reward you. And if you are bad, it will punish you. This is a fairy tale designed to keep you passive and waiting for an external savior. Karma is not a moral judgment. Karma is Newtonian physics applied to the quantum field. It is the absolute law of cause and effect. It is the exact mathematical reflection of your torus field's frequency. The universe is a perfect, emotionless mirror. It does not feel pity for your struggles. It does not care how exhausted you are, how unfair your past was, or how desperately you want your bank account to grow. It only reads the electromagnetic frequency you are actively broadcasting, and it collapses the exact corresponding physical reality back onto your timeline. If you close this video and return to your default routine, if you go back to vibrating at the frequency of fear, complaining about your lack of wealth, and letting the chaotic noise of the modern world dictate the rotation of your heart's torus field, you are no longer a victim. You are a willing volunteer in your own suffering. You are choosing the exact dimensions of your prison cell. You must understand the immense friction you are about to face. The Matrix is a self-correcting system. It does not want you to become sovereign. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up to execute the 369 sequence, your physical body and your environment will violently rebel against you. Your phone will ring with an artificial emergency. A bill will arrive in the mail. Your brain will flood your nervous system with cortisol, screaming at you to check your email, go to work, and worry about your survival instead of focusing your electrical intent. Your biological meat suit has been addicted to the dense frequency of stress for decades. And it will experience literal chemical withdrawals when you try to force it into the coherent, elevated frequency of the 369. This is the ultimate test of the alchemist. This is where the spiritual tourist fails, and the operator succeeds. The architects of the Matrix want you to watch this documentary and treat it as pure entertainment. They want you to feel a temporary psychological high, call it a fascinating esoteric theory, and then go right back to sleep. Because a sleeping operator cannot challenge the economic grid. A sleeping operator continues to generate the tax revenue and the labor that powers their grand illusion. But the true alchemist does not sleep. The alchemist signs the karmic contract. You must accept that every single thought you entertain and every deep-seated emotion you harbor is an active physical command to the quantum field. You are 100% responsible for every dollar in your bank account, every relationship in your life, and the exact state of your physical circumstances. If your physical reality is broken, it is because your internal frequency is corrupted. There are no exceptions to this geometry. There is no external savior coming to rescue you from the matrix. Nikola Tesla left you the exact mathematical code, but he cannot run the terminal for you. The architecture is perfect, but it is utterly useless without your kinetic force. You are the engine. You are the architect. You are the sole operator of the divine schematic. The hidden knowledge of antiquity has been entirely transferred to you. The mathematical laws of manifestation have been revealed and proven through physics. The grand illusion has no more power over your consciousness. The only question that remains is what you are going to do with the immense, terrifying power vibrating inside your chest right now. The knowledge has been transferred, but knowledge without kinetic execution is dead potential. You now stand at the threshold. You understand the Torus field, the divine architecture, and the 369 cadence. You are holding the schematic of God. But the matrix thrives on silence, doubt, and isolation. To truly collapse the quantum wave, you must declare your frequency to the physical grid. You must make your intent measurable in the physical dimensions. Here is your first test as an active operator. I want you to go down into the comments right now and type the exact present tense code you are programming into your biological reactor tomorrow morning. Do not write what you hope will happen. Write the completed mathematical reality. Type, "I am operating a highly profitable enterprise," or "I am completely financially sovereign." By typing your code into this public grid, you are making your first physical strike against the grand illusion. You are forcing a physical action to match your internal frequency. You are signaling to the ether that your passive observation has permanently ended. Write the code. If you found the missing piece of your own architecture in this documentary, do not walk away and let the modern world put you back to sleep. Align yourself with this frequency. Subscribe to D-Tunes Reality. We are not just a channel, we are building a digital mystery school. A collective of operators actively rewiring the local torus fields of this planet. Every time you return to this grid, we will tear down another layer of the illusion. We will expose the suppressed physics, the esoteric history, and the exact mechanics of your reality. The 369 sequence begins tomorrow at dawn. The universe is waiting for your code. Do not miscalculate. I will see you in the grid.